Have you ever sat at your desk for hours, reading the same page again and again, feeling productive, only to wake up the next morning and realize almost nothing stayed? You're not lazy, you're not stupid, but your brain erased what you studied. Now here's the strange part. In Japan, many students permanently remember more than 2,000 kanji characters, not for exams, for life. And even more confusing, some people feel sharper after 5 hours of sleep than after 8. So what's really happening here? What if the problem isn't how hard you study, but how your habits fight against your brain's natural rhythm? Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. Your brain is designed to forget. Forgetting is not a flaw. It's a survival feature. If your brain remembered everything equally, it would drown in useless details. So it keeps only what feels relevant, repeated, and well-timed. This is why studying longer often makes things worse. When you read and reread information passively, your brain assumes, "I've seen this before, no action needed." Nothing gets strengthened, nothing gets stored. Japanese learning culture takes a very different approach. Instead of forcing effort, it aligns daily habits with how the brain actually works. In the morning, many students step outside for natural light and do light movement, sometimes just a 10-minute walk. Research referenced by our competitor shows this alone can increase memory recall by around 20%. Not because of motivation, but because movement and light activate the brain's alert systems. Before learning something new, they often review what they studied yesterday, not by rereading, but by trying to recall it from memory. They eat until they're about 80% full, keeping energy stable instead of crashing. And they sleep according to natural cycles, not just clock hours. The result? Less struggle, less burnout, and memory that actually stays. Imagine 2 mornings. In the first, you wake up, grab your phone, scroll for 20 minutes, rush to your desk, and immediately start studying. Your body is awake, but your brain is still half asleep. In the second, a routine many Japanese students follow. They step outside shortly after waking up. No intense workout. Just natural light and light movement. Walking, stretching, breathing. 10 minutes, that's all. This simple habit matters more than most people realize. Morning light tells your brain one critical message. It's time to be alert. It raises cortisol, not the bad stress hormone you hear about online, but the hormone that sharpens focus and attention in the early hours. When cortisol rises naturally in the morning, memory formation becomes easier. Add light movement, and something powerful happens. Blood flow increases. Oxygen delivery improves. Neural activity becomes more synchronized. According to research mentioned by our competitor, just 10 minutes of light movement can improve recall by around 20%. Now here's the part most people miss. After this short movement, Japanese students often review old material before learning anything new, not by reading notes, but by closing the book and asking, "What do I remember from yesterday?" This is active recall, and it tells the brain, this information matters. Only after that do they move on to new content. Even their study space reflects this rhythm. A quick desk reset, a cup of tea, small rituals that signal transition, not motivation, structure. The result is subtle but powerful. They don't force focus. They create the conditions where focus naturally appears. You don't need more discipline in the morning. You need a rhythm that lets your brain wake up before you ask it to remember. Most people believe learning works like this. Read, understand, remember. But your brain doesn't work that way. When you reread notes or highlight text, your brain stays passive. It feels familiar, so it feels productive. But familiarity is not memory. That's why you can read the same paragraph 3 times and still blank during a test. Japanese students rely on a different principle, active recall. Instead of asking, "Do I recognize this?" they ask, "Can I pull this out of my head without looking?" That struggle, especially when you get it wrong, is what strengthens memory. Every attempt to recall creates stronger neural connections. Forgetting, then retrieving again, is not failure. It's the process. This is where spaced repetition enters. Rather than cramming, information is revisited on specific days. Day 1, Day 2, Day 4, Day 7. Each repetition happens just as the brain is about to forget. That timing matters. It tells the brain, this keeps coming back, keep it. Compare this to passive studying, where you read everything once and move on. Your brain has no reason to save it. Now add kaizen, the Japanese philosophy of improving just 1% every day. Japanese companies like Toyota didn't become world-class through radical change. They became unstoppable through small daily improvements. Students apply the same idea to learning. One new word, one recalled concept, one corrected mistake, every day. Many also follow a 40-10 rhythm, 40 minutes of focused work, 10 minutes of rest, not scrolling, not multitasking, just letting the brain reset. And when motivation drops, they follow a simple rule: never miss twice. Missing one day is human. Missing 2 days is how habits die. Learning becomes less about willpower and more about systems. You don't need to feel motivated to show up for something small. When learning is broken into recall, spacing, and tiny improvements, memory stops being fragile and starts becoming permanent. You've probably heard this advice your entire life: sleep 8 hours. So you do, and still wake up tired, heavy, unfocused. This is where another paradox appears. Sleep isn't just about how long you sleep. It's about when you wake up. Your brain moves through sleep in cycles, roughly 90 minutes each. Inside these cycles are different stages, including REM sleep, where emotional processing and memory consolidation happen. If you wake up in the middle of a deep or REM stage, your brain feels unfinished, like being interrupted mid-sentence. That's why some people feel clearer after 5 hours of sleep than after 8. They woke up at the end of a cycle, not in the middle of one. Japanese sleep culture pays close attention to recovery, not perfection. They don't glorify exhaustion, but they also don't force sleep for the sake of numbers. Many students focus on consistency, going to bed and waking up at similar times, so the body learns its rhythm. Food plays a role too. The principle of hara hachi, eating until about 80% full, keeps the body from entering a heavy, sluggish state. When digestion is overloaded, mental clarity drops. When it's light, energy stays stable. Before sleep, many students do one final thing: a short review. Not hours of studying, just 10 minutes of recalling what they learned that day. This signals to the brain, store this. During sleep, the brain organizes and strengthens those memories. They also reduce artificial light at night, phones off, rooms dim. Not because it's trendy, but because melatonin needs darkness to rise. Sleep in this system isn't passive rest. It's the final stage of learning. Here's the shift most people never make. They say, I'm trying to study more. Japanese students think differently. The goal isn't effort, it's identity. Instead of relying on motivation, they build systems that reinforce who they believe they are. Not someone who studies when motivated, but someone who learns consistently. This identity shift changes everything. When learning becomes part of who you are, showing up feels natural. You don't negotiate with yourself. You follow the system. One powerful habit reinforces this identity: teaching what you learn. After studying, many students explain the concept out loud, write a short summary, or share it with someone else. Teaching forces clarity. If you can explain it simply, you understand it. If you can't, the gap becomes obvious and fixable. Equally important is what happens between study sessions. Japanese learning culture respects silence and pauses. These moments aren't wasted. They're when the brain reorganizes information, forming deeper connections, like roots growing underground before a tree appears. Learning isn't constant effort. It's a rhythm of focus, rest, recall, and reflection. Once you see yourself as a person who learns in rhythm, not in chaos, progress becomes quieter, but far more powerful. So let's step back and look at the pattern. Japanese students don't learn better because they're smarter. They learn better because their habits respect how the brain actually works. They wake up with light and gentle movement, activating focus before studying. They review old material through recall, not rereading. They improve just 1% a day instead of chasing motivation. They study in cycles, rest on purpose, eat until 80% full, and sleep in rhythm, so memory has time to settle. And over time, they stop saying, "I'm trying to learn," and start living as someone who learns well. You don't need to change everything today. Tomorrow morning, try just one thing. Take a 10-minute walk before studying. Or recall yesterday's lesson before opening something new. Small changes, repeated daily, reshape your brain quietly. You're not bad at learning. You've just been fighting your own rhythm.